The brand new tank being announced today is the Red Sea Reefer S. And it's just so funny how we were talking about the unheralded takeover of rimless aquariums just last week. And all of a sudden, we have a brand new flagship aquarium that is not rimless. That is so freaking cool. Did you get a chance to take a look at the web page?
I did. I had some envy. There's a lot of features on it that I like. I'm curious if this is sort of the if we're going to start seeing more manufacturers do things other than rimless, because it seemed like every manufacturer went rimless. And I do like I've always called it Euro bracing, but they had a different term for it.
Let's rewind it a little bit.
Sure.
And describe for our listeners and watchers, our viewers, what we're talking about. So the Red Sea Reefer S is 2 tanks, and they really are kind of in the flagship territory. I think Red Sea did an amazing job of describing and promoting and marketing the newest features of this aquarium. But there's Red Sea Reefer S 850, which is a 6-foot long tank, essentially a 180-gallon tank. And then there's Red Sea Reefer S, which is a Red Sea Reefer S 1000, that's a model number, and it's a 210-gallon that is 7 feet long. The biggest defining features of these 2 tanks is they have an all-new metal frame construction, so marine grade aluminum. I really hope and I anticipate that will be pre-built. It seems like a real liability to get people to assemble their own metal stands. It's a little bit different when.
Well, they did it with the Max S, right? Those had the internal aluminum frame, but I think it was a you assemble it kind of deal. So I'm curious if you have to do the same.
Both the Red Sea and the Water Box have substantial investments in the foundation. And I remember when I put together my water box, my 6-foot Peninsula water box, I think I did it very casually, and I watched 2 movies while doing it. It just took that long. I'm sure an expert could probably slap one together in an hour, but I enjoyed the process. I got to know my tank by putting it together. So what was your first impression? Because you just looked at the page a couple hours ago, right?
Yeah. So I going back to the Max S that they initially had, one thing that I really loved was the aluminum frame stand.
That was optional in the Max S. I think it was option. There's one range where it was optional, and in this one it's standard.
Okay. I thought they had it on the 650 or Max S 500, but no, I like that. Wood frame stands are great, but they've been around in the hobby for quite a while, but they're prone to humidity issues, right? And you're going to put a sump down there, and so to me, aluminum gives you the advantage that your strength and your rigidity is pretty much impervious to humidity changes, right? Assembly to me, maybe if it does require assembly, it's probably a little more intricate work, but locking aluminum pieces together to me is doing a good job is a lot easier with, I think, that than say wood, because I think we've all assembled furniture before, and sometimes wood chips, sometimes you screw it in wrong or at a wrong angle. You can't really get a wrong angle as easily with aluminum. So I think it's maybe there's a little more work to put it together, but I think the finished product is something that you're going to feel a lot more secure in.
I think that's enough about the stand. I'm sure the viewers and listeners want to hear a little bit more about the tank itself. So what was one of the other features that really grabbed your attention? And feel free to dive into the Euro bracing now if you want.
Yeah, so they call it the fortified internal framed aquarium, aka Euro bracing in my book. But maybe there's some Europeans listening you guys call it what? Maybe they call it non-American bracing. I don't know. But I like that in the sense that my biggest beef with rimless tanks is, I said it in, I think, the first podcast or YouTube, whatever we want to call this session, reef therapy session. You get that water within a 1 inch of that top of the rim, and powerful power head or getting a little crazy with your magnet and you got splashy crap and you're wiping everything down. And it's just, I find it hard to keep a rimless tank clean in that regard. I went the other route where I ordered a tank with a water level lower, but a comparable solution is to go with some Euro bracing, right? It keeps things on the outside, I think, a lot cleaner. Yeah, it might help with some of the jumpiness, right? Because a lot of the fish I see, they'll run up the glass and then
Yeah, absolutely.
right.
So, I mean, this is going to be absolutely a divisive feature. You're going to have some people who just absolutely love it, and some people who have nothing to do with it. But a few things. One, it's obviously mostly structural to prevent any kind of bowing because they're trying to do a little bit longer tank, especially in the S1000 model, which is 7 feet long. I know my 6 foot water box and my 5 foot Red Sea and my 4 foot Innovative Marine. If you look down the end, like, yeah, you can see a tiny bit of flex, which is absolutely normal. But one curious design choice that I noticed is it's black. It's jet black, and they promote it as such. And so I wonder if that's going to actually cast shade on the front glass to some degree, which is absolutely going to depend on what kind of light you have and how it's mounted. But man, if it reduces, the scraping of the glass on your tank even by a little bit, that's really cool. But to your point, like reducing some of the fish jumping, because very few fish, maybe some firefish and some wrasses can just jump out, in place, like right in the center of the tank and go flying. Most of your fish are going to ride the edge of the glass and end up out. Like they're not trying to get out; they're just kind of startled. So that's going to keep some fish in. But I fear it's going to give people some complacency against having some kind of good, secure top that absolutely prevents fish from exiting the aquarium.
What I sort of love about the fact that setting up a reef tank has become a lot less DIY. It's a lot less. It can be, right. My next tank, I'm PVCing it out and all that, but the fact that the current tank I had, I bought it. It showed up. I put the pre-assembled plumbing together, and I was up and running. It removes a lot of bad ideas that people get when they're setting up their tank, where they go, "Oh, I regret doing this or that." But
yes, it's weird how it's strange how the pre-cut plumbing is something that they want to promote, but this is something we absolutely come to expect from tanks like this. Like I said, I have a Red Sea Peninsula, I have a Waterbox Peninsula, and I have a Cade Aquarium. For some reason, it was only with the Cade Aquarium that it really hit me that I felt some inadequacies as a proficient reefer that I didn't have to measure or cut or glue anything. It was just pop and lock, just roll. But I love your point, how it discouraged reefers from trying to do things that they think are tricky, but will probably turn around and bite them in the butt down the road.
Yeah, I think it's hard to do clean plumbing, and maybe it is maybe it's not for other people. It is certainly for me, but it also levels the playing field, right? It's not like, oh, look at this amazing plumbing job I did. It's like, hey, you and I have the exact same tank. We have the exact same plumbing. We have the exact same sump. Our choices in equipment may vary, but it's really all about what you put in the tank and how you care for what's in the tank, right? So for me,
I love your perspective of looking at it like, oh, this is leveling the playing field. So now your proficiency as a reef aquarist really has to shine through the aquarium because you're not going to have very different equipment. Meanwhile, I'm over here. I'm like, oh man, I don't get to flex my 25 years of reef aquarium skills and the pride that comes with proper plumbing. But man, that pre-cut stuff is amazing. It's really, really good. I love this arms race that's taking place, with Red Sea and Waterbox and Cade. Planet Aquarium kind of has their own pond with more larger, more custom stuff. Invader has their own sandbox where they're offering a lot of different dimensions that are a little bit on the smaller side. And then you got ProClear. Let's not forget about ProClear. They're coming up on their 25th anniversary. If you don't know ProClear Aquatics Systems, they've actually been building the stuff for a lot of other companies for like a really long time, like All Glass Aquarium, but then turned into Aquarium. But yeah, I think that was the first. That wasn't the first, but that was one of the larger metal frame stands that I got. That's currently my fish only aquarium. So it's really cool to see. The pace, the cadence of these aquariums coming out every few years, and every time they're trying to a little arms race, trying to one up each other on, how to make the tank more compelling. This is one of those things that has definitely fueled and accelerated the reef aquarium hobby like no other. Yeah. And I welcome it with open arms. Super duper cool. And I just want to see just more of this all-in-oneness, so we can there's times when you really need to build something from scratch when you're doing something tricky or something really kind of outside the box, and there's other times where I just want a tank full of euphyllias. I don't need any bells and whistles for my soft coral tank or my fish tank or my euphilia garden. It's just kind of, yeah, I like it a lot. The only thing that I see really lacking with these all-in-one tanks is at least the option for a really good screen top. I think Red Sea has a DIY offering. The Cade comes with one. They're not good enough. I'm sorry, they're just not. Like, even if you have experience making the Red Sea screen top, it's like $3 worth of materials on a $6,000 aquarium. Like, yo. Have you not seen what's on the market right now as far as like these ready-made, like acrylic with clear screens and doors? Like, it's just not enough. I mean, how do you feel about that?
I agree. I did the Red Sea kit, which is like a window screen, and it was a pain in the butt to put together. And then you try to get like something accommodating designed into it to do, to feed your fish. Well, again, you asked me about why I went the route I did with my tank and the lower water line and everything else. I hate screen tops, and maybe part of that is my experience with the screen top that I had. Some of those acrylic ones that have like a feeding box or whatever. What do you call it? A little, you can pull it out.
A door.
Door. There we go.
That's a door.
Yeah. I mean, I get it to some degree, because even those are custom ordered based on what your lighting setup is and where your lights are clamped. So Red Sea can't exactly predict that, right? They don't know what you're going to do. I don't know, but I agree. Maybe there's some middle ground there.